today I'm going to talk you through what spiced rums are. I still flipping love my spiced rums, but I want to distinguish between the spiced rums that I kind of will talk about on this channel and my other channel, and rums that I probably steer clear of. Now, this is a topic that sort of brings in, you know, the really quick and wild comments. I've done plenty of videos like this in the past, and I always get the same sort of comments. They never watch the video. They just come in after 30 seconds and go, nah. Let's be brutally honest here. Spiced rum, to most people, is rum that has simply been spiced. You know, that's where a lot of people just need to leave it. They just do not need any further knowledge or to break it down even more. We can break it down massively more than that, but to most people, they just don't care. It's just a rum that has been spiced. But there's a few levels we kind of have to look at here with spiced rum. Now, in this video, I'm just really going to be talking about UK, British brands of spiced rum. Now, right here in front of me, I have got two very different types of spiced rum. They're like chalk and cheese. And to spiced rum fans that like your Dead Man's Fingers, your Krakens, your Captain Morgans, those sort of spiced rums, you probably will, at first attempt, probably will hate these, because they are nothing even remotely close to what these are. Okay, so let's just start off with the bare basics. Right, legally, and I'm talking about legally just here for 2 seconds. I've touched on this, I've done a whole video about this before, but legally, spiced rums are not rum. They are legally a spirit drink, a rum-based spirit drink, because you cannot add any sugars or flavours or anything, or sorry, flavourings to rum. When you do that, it ceases to become rum. That's EU law. Whether I agree with that or not is a completely different subject. That's just the law. And yes, in Britain, in England, we're not part of the EU anymore, so that law does kind of need to be looked at, but it's a very different kind of rule around the rest of the world. Now, let's just assume for 1 minute these aren't spirit drinks, and we do classify them as proper rum that has been spiced. How do we make that distinguishment? Well, the spiced rums that I will be featuring on my other channel, Steve the Barman Extra. And if you didn't know that, I have got two other channels actually. I've got Steve the Barman Extra, where it's the home of my live show. I do the cocktails and the spiced rums on that channel. And I've also got Steve the Barman rum reviews as well. The links will be in the description. Now, as I say, the rums that I feature on my other channel, Steve the Barman Extra, are predominantly going to be these types of rums, not these types of rums. Now, what is the difference? Okay, let's just take the sugar aspect for 1 minute. These are in large, and don't get me wrong, I love Slide Dog. Slide Dog is a bit of fun. It's a great drink. I'm not going to have a bad word against that. To be honest, I loved. There's a whole different side story about that, but you know, I love Dead Man's Fingers. It was my passion brand because it was Cornish. It was made in a rum and crab shack. It's not anymore. It's a completely different concept to what it was when I first started drinking it. It's a completely different rum and completely different processes, and that's a different whole story. But the whole point being is these are sweeter, a lot sweeter in some cases than these. These are distilled from scratch right here in the UK, and most British, I keep saying UK, but British rum distillers will be doing a spiced rum, because spiced rum is the biggest category, it's the biggest market. They need to produce, they need to get a foot in the door, so they will need to be producing spiced rums. But to me, there is a huge difference between a brand, a distillery producing their own rum and spicing it up with proper spices, you know, actual ginger, actual cinnamon, actual vanilla, whatever spices they use, orange, you know, whatever they've used, it's in real life fruit and spices, compared to brands that just use dropper bottles with they're bigger dropper bottles, granted, but dropper bottles with flavour compounds. That is the big distinguishment I make. I'm all about the labour of love and creating a quality product that is largely unsweetened. All right, we know that sugar makes things taste better, and we also know that if you are using spices like clove, ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, those sort of things, you do actually need a bit of sweetness to kind of balance those out. But in some cases, we could be talking 6-10 grams of sugar in a spiced rum, sometimes a little bit more, but not too much more. But up to, you know, in some cases, other brands, we could be talking 40, 50, 60 grams. I do know of one spiced rum brand that does use well over 100 grams of sugar, and that is legally a liqueur. Because if you use liqueurs legally, and I think this is a worldwide thing, but if a liqueur has to have 100 grams of sugar in it per litre. And I'll also drop another fact bomb as well. There are a couple of spiced rums on the market that don't even have spiced rum as the base liquid, as the base ingredient. They're actually vodka. And they get around it very, very carefully because they call it spiced and they call it spirit drink. Not only does it not have spiced rum, but it doesn't also say rum-based spirit drink. It's just spiced on the bottle. So you have got to be looking at the bottle very, very carefully because that is legal. They don't claim it to be a spiced rum. It's just spiced spirit drink. But people will jump to those conclusions, think, oh yeah, spiced rum, let's get some of that. And it's not. And that's the point I want to make at my stage in this journey. Look, I love spiced rum, as I keep saying over and over again. I am about the passion, the skill that goes into making and crafting your own using fresh spices, because that is like cooking. That's a skill in itself. But the truth is, my palate has changed and I really don't like the sweet stuff too much anymore. I will, you know, I'll happily have one or two, maybe at a push, two. But these, you know, I love sipping on these neat. I love mixing them because to me, they are just simply proper rum that has been spiced. That is it in a nutshell. Now, granted, I'm quite good at reading between the lines and quite good at doing some research and kind of seeing some naughty stuff. So if you're not sure, and if you want to kind of list that you kind of like what I would call proper spiced rums as opposed to rums that are sourced from anywhere. I mean, just on the back of the bottle, I mean, Sly Dog, and again, no disrespect, but it just says Caribbean. We don't even know whether that's a Spanish style or an English style. We don't know whether it's come from Jamaica. I'm not a huge fan of Jamaican rums. We don't know whether it's come from Nicaragua, like Flor de Carne territory, or Cuba, for instance, Havana territory. We just don't know. It's Caribbean rum. So we have no information on that rum at all in that bottle, whereas we know full well what the rum is, what the style is, because all that Cinnabar is the Portsmouth, and let me get the right number, the 1968, that's got a little bit of colour into it, a little bit of spices and a touch of sugar. I think it's 6 grams. That is, we know exactly what that is. But if you want a little bit more knowledge of spiced rums, if you want to learn, if you want to read between the lines, come into the Discord community. There will be a link in the description below. I will quite happily sort of guide you because I've got the rough kind of, let's be honest, I looked at spiced rum for a lot of years, so I know a lot of brands inside out. My journey has gone, but I can help you. So if you want that knowledge, if you want like me to focus on proper British scratched rum, doing spiced rum, then join us in Discord.